It's the Algarve International Circuit, although not as you know it, with plenty of rainfall again today, and after it's taken a real pounding from the storm that has been working its way steadily eastwards. We expected actually for Saturday on the whole to be clear. Now earlier on today the Ligier European Series had one race, and that was in pretty much dry conditions. The plan though for this one, with the track now declared very, very wet, is that it will start, this race for an hour will start behind the lead car, and that will then become the safety car. So it should be, if and when we do get going, a single file start to make it as safe as possible. 17 degrees Celsius in the air, which is actually quite reasonable for this time of year. But the problem is the rain at the moment, which is really affecting track temperature as well. And even with these cars running around on wet weather tyres, it's about trying to generate as much heat as possible so that they provide the grip, and also trying to clear that standing water. Welcome back then to the Ligier European Series. It's Johnny Palmer and Graham Goodwin at dailysportscar.com to take you through this, but we're wondering whether this may be a delayed start, in fact, to try and help the weather to improve. The problem is it's already just gone 4:05, and we have 4 lots of ELMS qualifying to come yet, which will probably take the best part of 90 minutes or so. Trying to get that in between now and sunset could be a bit tricky, Graham.
Yeah, I think we just got a quick shot there of George King, and that wasn't wet look hair product he was wearing, I can tell you that. It has been changeable, I think, is the polite way of putting the weather this week. And as you can see there, it doesn't look like it's raining at the moment, although there are umbrellas up. I'm looking to see whether or not I can see raindrops in that puddle, and there are. So a little bit of rain, but not tipping it down as it was just 5-6 minutes ago. So waiting to release this mixed group of JS2 R. They're the cars you can see in the foreground, the GT style cars, and JS P4s, which there you go, the 17 being a good example of that, the prototype versions of the Ligier, all powered by the same, I think it's 3.7 litre V6 Ford-based engine, but in different states of tune. There you go, there's Art. It's a rope with a raindrop. We're just going to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, it will depart from the rope very shortly. Let's just give it a moment. People say watching the build-up to a race can be like watching paint dry. Well, we're watching raindrops fall from bits of rope. It's nearly there, Graham.
Yep.
Just a few more seconds. Science in action as the weight of the water gets just enough.
Not yet, not yet.
Oh, we've broken away from it. That was a new venture for me in a commentary world, I have to say. I've never commentated on water on rope before. Pit
lane marshal, they're looking spectacularly pleased to be doing the job this morning.
I wonder whether she's getting our commentary pipe through into that helmet.
It would give me that face if I was. So
why she was so miserable.
2 minutes about a raindrop.
2 minutes until the start of at least a safety car lap, though.
I think we're just confirming it was 2 minutes we were talking about a raindrop.
Fine, yeah, nothing to do at all with when we're actually going to send these cars out.
Mercedes AMG ready to lead the cars out. This will be a session we are told will start behind the safety car. That's unusual for a qualifying session.
Let's give you the grid, because there will be plenty of time to do this later, but why not get it out of the way now? Ian Aguilera will start from pole position in the number 75 car that he shares with Haytham Caragiuli. Steve Zakia alongside for Le Douce Arb. Then 2 more JS P4s for Kevin Madsen for Team Virage and Jacopo Mazza. HB Racing by Monza Garage for Panagiotis Kaitatsis, and it's Bernardo Pinheiro, the man from Portimao, 19 years old, in the 60 car, starts on the outside of row 3. Anthony Nara and Ray Yu Wang next up for Pegasus and Monza Garage. Max Meyer in the RLRM Sports JS2 R will start at the front of that particular category after he qualified it, doing a 153.997, and that was a significant chunk faster than the now champion Julien Lemoine in the number 42 car, taking the title during the previous race today for ANS Motorsport. Then David Rodrigo, Jacques Nicolet, Laurent Millara and Minea Stefan. And if you weren't following the story of Minea this weekend, a massive shunt in one of the free practice sessions on Thursday, doing untold damage to the back of this car, the 48 machine, and also to the barrier close to turn 15, which delayed us quite significantly on Thursday afternoon. Amazingly though, Team Virage spent all of yesterday fixing the car. He couldn't take part in qualifying, but he has been allowed to start each of the races, and it was from back to front earlier this morning to take another race victory, Graham.
It was, and did it spectacularly well, did it safely, did it quickly, and it'll be tough to beat here as well, I should imagine, if you can get through the early parts of this race. It's the number 60 car, the team car in the hands of Bernardo Pinheiro. So we're already, clock is ticking down already with the safety car starting the clock by leaving pit lane. We're ticking down as these cars get... Just looking, are these cars in race order?
They should be, yes. Why? Which one are you questioning?
I thought I saw a JS2 R a little further up then, and maybe not. That was just the angle of the shot. It's
okay.
Fine. So it's a double pole position from RLR M Sport in this race. 75 leads the overall train, and of course JS P4, and it is the 10. Max Meyer starting the car. This would be not good news for RLR, with a quicker driver starting this race in these conditions. It's a matter of how long the safety car stays out. So we'll just allow the drivers an opportunity to see track conditions from ground level, find out where some of the grip might be. The difference between the session we've just seen, Johnny, with the qualifying for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, the GT cars came out on slicks as the rain started to pour.
Yeah. Yeah, and go back to your point about RLR M Sport in their JS2R putting the quicker driver in. That is mandated as per the regulations. Whoever's done the qualifying then has to start the race. And each driver in the two driver lineups gets a race start each across the weekend. But I spoke at length actually with Max Meyer and his dad on Friday, and no, that was Thursday, beg your pardon, Thursday evening, and Max was saying it's been a frustrating season in a sense, because he's always had pace wherever he's gone, but they've not necessarily had the luck. Remember when he went off on his own fluid, something dropping from the car at Motorland Aragon and pouring through the doors. I don't think the team will mind me saying now that was actually the fire extinguisher going off, so absolutely nothing to do with any preparation they had done, but the fuel nozzle effectively melted and fired in the car, and then leaked onto the rear tyres, resulting in a spin. Also, he was well ahead at Spa last time out during Heat 5 of the championship, and the safety car came out and it completely eliminated the race lead that he had built, and that's the nature of a safety car, unfortunately. If you're anywhere else in the field, you love a safety car. If you're the race leader, you absolutely hate it, but there's nothing you can do. No,
indeed. Just comparing out the gloom is our 2023 champion, Anea Stefan. We'll be getting to try an LMP3 car early next week. There's a rookie test here on Monday for the European Le Mans Series, and rumour has it that he's amongst a number of drivers that will be trying an LMP3 cars, including Bernardo Pinheiro and George King, all in Ligier.
Excellent.
It'll be something to see.
Well, yes, always looking for the next step, and Ligier European Series will serve you well for, well, if you're looking to move up the ladder, 2 seasons and a push 3, but you can't afford to be, if you're wanting to get higher up to ELMS levels or indeed the World Endurance Championship, you certainly can't afford to be hanging around here. If you are lucky enough to win the title, of course, then Ligier give you a helping hand to the next level.
Yep, they basically turn up at your house. Elsa Nicolay, who looked after this championship, turns up in a Ligier and hands over a literal sack full of cash.
Yeah.
But you've got to spend it on racing a Ligier.
That's right, well, understandably so.
Absolutely.
I hope you get a photograph outside your front door with Elsa on one side of the photograph, you on the other, and a massive cheque.
A massive cheque or a sack full of cash.
Or a sack full of cash.
I'd like the sack full of cash, actually.
Okay. Well, it's
massive cheques all very well for a photograph.
More difficult to store under the bed, though, depending on how big the sack is.
Just buy a bunk bed and take the lower bunk out.
what do you use the lower bunk for? Oh, that's where I store all my Ligier cash after a wonderful season in the European Series.
It is an astonishing prize fund. We're joking, but it's an astounding prize fund. And what's allowed is for our championship winner last year, Guillaume Henrion, to take on board a currently championship leading position in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and we may very well see he and Julien Gerby secure the championship. So 2 championships, 2 years potentially for Guillaume Henrion, and also to allow Haytham Karajouni to step up from JS2 R, where he was the championship winner last year, to JS P4, and those same opportunities now sit for both Menea Stefan, who potentially gets a 6-figure contribution towards a LMP3 effort in the Michelin Le Mans Cup with a Ligier next year, and for Julien Lemoine, ANS Motorsport, the 42 car here, who's clinched the JS2 R title this morning. He gets the opportunity to step up into one of these cars, JS P4 for next year, with significant financial help from Ligier to do so. I'm not sure I know of very many prize funds at this kind of level of motorsport that come remotely close to that.
That's the thing, and you know, plenty of people are cottoning on to that now as well, and looking that clearly they have to build a budget of sorts to get here in the first place, but it's nothing compared to similar types of racing, and also it sets you on a really good path for future movements. And we've got a mixture of different drivers in this in terms of age and ability, but as Julien Henrion demonstrated last year, he was somewhat dominant in this series, and he's then gone on to work his way into the Ligier, into the Michelin Le Mans Cup, also in a Ligier, and also with Team Virage, the team he won the title with last year, and is on the cusp of winning with Julien Gerby that title as well. So it's breeding really good talent to keep our eye on in the future.
See just how poor the conditions were there just briefly. A quick shot of my business partner, David Lord, standing by his camera, looking as miserable as any man alive.
He does normally look a lot better than that, I will say.
Not that much better.
Okay, well, it looked like he was loving life for me.
Yeah.
And in fairness to him, he's had, what, 4 days of this now being rained upon?
He hasn't gone about it at all. Hashtag living the dream.
You and Graham have the easiest job in the world, he'll say, just because we're in an air-conditioned covered commentary box, Dave. You're out in the fresh air, it's much more healthy.
Hang on, I'll just switch the aircon on and get a bit warm in here.
Yeah.
Just past one of those ice-cold Coca-Colas.
And the pastel de nata as well. Weaving taking place. I got a feeling things were heating up a bit, as in terms of the revs were rising, and that is certainly the case because the safety car is in this lap. We are now seeing a green flag. However, the pace is being dictated by Ian Aguilera in the RLR M Sport car, and only now does he decide to hit the loud pedal. It looks like Steve Zacchius reacted to that very well indeed. However, Kevin Madsen caught a touch napping there, and is he now going to be challenged by Jacopo Mazza in the number 7, the orange-fronted LR Motorsport car? Here comes Mazza around the outside of Kevin Madsen and does get the place. A bit of give and take there. I think Kevin Madsen realised that was the safer option, just to brake a little bit earlier, because although these cars have been around the track several times in these wet conditions, it's been not at this speed.
No, stone cold everything really, just a little bit of heat in the tyres by now. Already see there Menea Stefan already taking the opportunity to pass the first 2 of his targets, starting again from 14th. Can he repeat the feat of back of the grid to winning the race? Started well, up the inside goes the 0-4, that means Kevin Madsen has to just duck out of that. 0-4 takes the position and one squirrels across the curbing, but manages to get that back into a straight line. But now under attack from the number 60 car and the number 17. Bernardo Pinheiro, Anthony Nara looking for a way past Madsen.
And yes, Anthony Nara desperately trying to clear the screen as well, because another problem in this slight temperature, as the 60 car will get ahead of the number 1, or will it, through turn 9? No, Madsen is hanging tough on the inside, but the 60 decides to break that a little bit later, and Bernardo Pinheiro will bring Anthony Nara with him, as long as Nara can dip around the outside of Kevin Madsen, and that will give him the inside line for turn 12. And I was about to mention, warm race driver in a relatively coolish racing car. That's going to start to fog up the windshield though as well, and the side windows, so visibility already pretty tough. Question of whether you can see through the condensation on the screen as well. Nara just a bit too deep into 14, but Kevin Madsen's not going to be close enough, I don't think.
Bernardo Pinheiro taking a very unusual set of lines here. I presume he knows better than most where the grip might be in these conditions, presuming he's raced in the wet here.
Yeah, well, yes, and it is a rare thing actually at the Algarve International Circuit. We have had rain here before in previous Octobers, but this part of southern Europe does tend to get the warmer weather, and later on, now darting up the inside, but he's left it a bit too late, and I think that was a spin on his own, and then maybe caught the back of the 0-4 of Panagiotis Kaitatsis, but Jacopo Mazza asking a bit too much of the wet weather tyres, and a spin which may have resulted in a slight bit of contact, but amazingly he has rejoined very swiftly.
Yeah, he's just been taken by the rapidly regressing Minea Stefan. That, I think, puts him up to... Where is he now? Is timing correct? Stefan up to 7th place already, but goes off the track there, and will have that place taken back, will he, by Mazza? Not quite enough room to do it.
Yeah, Mazza had to certainly adjust his line on the exit of turn 5, and that cost him yet more time. So Minea Stefan now ahead of the Jacopo Mazza-driven number 7 car. Minea from the back of the grid, remember, running very deep into turn 8 at the top of the hill.
4-wheel slide there from the championship winner. He looks to be in a hurry, but he's taking risks in doing it. And the car's just snaking under power.
Ian Aguilera in the white, black and orange of RLR M Sport is a decent chunk of time ahead of Steve Zacchia. It's not far away from being 2 seconds now, 1.7 to be exact. There's Kevin Madsen's Team Virage car with the Stars and Stripes USA flag on the engine cover, and he's being monstered now by Minea Stefan, and the contact made between the two Virage cars, but amazingly it didn't spin Kevin Madsen. It did, however, spin Minea Stefan, who just wasn't quite close enough to be making a move like that in the wet.
Way too ambitious there. He was very lucky he didn't clean up. Teammate there, very lucky.
Actually helped Kevin a bit more through the corner, and he did well. I don't think he ran too much wide, actually. Also sneaking through was the 7 of Jacopo Mazza. But Minea Stefan with it all to do again, and depending on what his plans are for next year, the higher up the ladder you go, the more you've got to rule out those mistakes. They have been rare things, but on the odd occasion, in trying conditions, just a bit too much risk.
He's been fault-free more or less the whole of this season, but to be blunt, Johnny, from about lap 2, the body language of that car looked like he was overdriving for the conditions at that point. Just needs to calm it down a bit. There's 47 minutes to go. Switch around here, 29 and the 86, as the lead of this class, Max Meyer, is ahead of 2 of the JS P4s and up into 8th position overall.
I mean, and the other thing, of course, is that Virage are looking for the best possible result for all 3 of their cars, and if that had gone even worse, then he could potentially have cleaned out Kevin Madsen. Here is a very sideways Bernardo Pinheiro, but that all looked to be just about in control. The 0-4 of Kaitatsis of Greece, run by HP Racing by Monza Garage, closing the gap here. They're really concertinaing up for first, second and third. So it's Ian Aguilera for RLR, it's Steve Zacchia for Le Dusab, and then the third car in that mixture is the HP Racing 0-4.
Yeah, and the HP Racing by Monza Garage car, fastest lap of the race. It's only a 2:04.7, but enough to close the gap. The gap between the top 3, 1.2 seconds now, 45 minutes to go. Talk about Mazza here, been dropping down the order a little, just going to gather himself. It is 75 from RRM Sport, 50 and the 0-4 on the top 3 and battling as a group. Then it's Bernardo Pinheiro, the local driver, fending off the challenge, and successfully so, of Anthony Nara. So that's the 60 Team Virage car, the 70 bright blue Pegasus Racing car. Here's our lead three in JS2 R. Miguel Stefan has again passed Max Meyer, who still leads the JS2 R class now 9th overall, and he has a just about 4.5 second gap to the ELMS Motorsport, a car of Ligier Le Mans, 5 seconds now. And I think Ray Yu Wang has actually been off the circuit briefly.
Excellent racing by Panagiotis Kaitatsis, though, because I thought he'd overcooked it into the first sequence of corners to get ahead of Steve Zakia. Zakia certainly kept him honest, but then finally into the braking area at turn 3, Kaitatsis picked him off in the 0-4. So he's up to second place. There he is. The meat in the sandwich now between Ian Aguilera and Steve Zakia. Bernardo Pinheiro wanting to be part of this. And I would have imagined that these three dicing amongst themselves were probably slowing one another up, going for the lead of the race at the inside. Well, no, here comes Aguilera on the fight back. And the problem for Aguilera is the next corner's a left-hander, but it doesn't matter because he's across the nose of Kaitatsis. Meantime, there are big problems for Jacopo Mazza because that large side panel on the left-hand portion of the car, which also contains the race number, is big-time peeling back. Surely that's as a result of some contact as well. Yeah,
likely. If it doesn't disconnect itself, that's likely to be something he's going to be called to the pits to address. It's not the kind of size of thing you want flying around on the racetrack. But, cracking stuff, you're right, by this lead three, and in particular the man of the moment is the Greek driver in the 0-4 car, Panagiotis Kaitatsis, doing real battle with Ian Aguilera. Aguilera meeting the challenge well, though. This is all allowing Bernardo Pinheiro to catch this group, and he's doing so pretty quickly now.
So Kaitatsis, the 42-year-old from Greece, he races with another bronze driver, so they'll have a short pit stop as well because it's 2 bronzes. Kaitatsis again going for the inside line, but thinking better of it there, probably attacking turn 1 from a too acute angle. But is he going to have a good chance to stab down the inside at turn 3? From a long way back he will go, and thankfully Ian Aguilera saw him coming, but Aguilera's not going to take this lying down. He's got the inside line for turn 4 now and still stays ahead just about. Fabulous racing.
Great stuff from these two so far. No quarter given, but utterly fair, and this time up the inside. But can he get the car stopped? Can he get the power down, or is there going to be another cutback here? This time I think he's got it done, Johnny.
So Kaitatsis, for the first time, is cementing this race lead. And now we're going to get to see how much quicker he is than Ian Aguilera, as Bernardo Pinheiro looms large in the distance in 4th position. That is the top 4 locked together in frame, as it's a slightly tighter exit out of turn 8 for Steve Zakia. So that might get him a good run on Ian Aguilera, and maybe an opportunity for a move up the inside at the top of the hill into turns 10 and 11. We haven't had much of a chance to focus on what's going on in JS2R. Julien Lemoine in the mid-blue car with the black detailing. He is now champion, having taken victory earlier today. So this is, in a sense, a dead rubber for him, but he'll enjoy it nonetheless. A race in isolation, and he'll still be so eager to win it. These two cars, though, are currently 2nd and 3rd behind Max Meyer, who's not in shot. That is because he's 7 seconds up the road.
It's been a good start for Max Meyer, but this pair involved in their own engaging little battle for 2nd place. This interesting group. That is, I think, the 48 having passed the one it is. Miguel Stefan has passed Jacopo Mazza and Kevin Madsen. So that broken panel on the side of the 7 car is having an impact. Around the outside of Kevin Madsen, can he make that stick? There's damage in the rear of the 1 as well.
Steve Zakia on the inside of Ian Aguilera. This is for 2nd position. Aguilera, though, here he comes. Back on the inside. So classic outside-inside lines down at turn 1 and 2. Zakia having a nibble again into the 3rd right-hander. There is no chance to reverse the positions for a 3rd time. Bernardo Pinheiro will be absolutely loving this, knowing that at least it's keeping the scrap for 2nd position in close distance. Now to the inside goes Steve Zacchia. The danger, though, I suppose, for Pinheiro, who doesn't want to lose touch with the outright leader, is that Kaitatsis, having wriggled free, is starting to establish himself in the race lead by 1.5 seconds.
Absolutely right. Clear and free. Pinheiro now beginning to look a little bit more racy, looking for the opportunity to force the error from the car ahead. His first target, Steve Zacchia, with the 3 cars ahead in the second place battle in JS2 R. It's still 42 and 43. ELMS Motorsport, LR Motorsport, Julien Le Mans will be weighed down by the weight of all those trophies, I'm sure, aboard the car.
They're in the car right now, yeah, in the boot. That's right.
Should be in the regulations, really. Yeah. If you win it early, you've got to carry the trophies.
All the garlands and all the trophies.
Yes, and the champagne bottles.
It's a natural success ballast. I like that idea. Max Meyer leads that category, but Julien Le Mans and David Rodrigo, definitely the fight to keep our eyes peeled for second and third in JS2R. Now very wide indeed, almost onto the green painted asphalt, which surely is going to be like ice, so you want to try and avoid that. And look at how everyone's avoiding the curbing as well between turns 14 and 15. You don't want to end up there if you can help it. We are still about 6 minutes away from the pit window opening. That will happen at 27 minutes into the race. Remember, the clock started to tick down whilst the safety car was circulating. So the race beginning behind the safety car, but it didn't take long for us to be at race speed. Brilliant final sector there for Panagiotis Kaitatsis. It's the best we've seen. Is that an indication that things are starting to dry up a little bit through that fast final sector? Or
is he just getting more confidence knowing what the conditions are, where the grip is or isn't? But you're right, it's a 2:04.303, so quicker than anybody behind him. 2 seconds the gap now before you get to this group of 3 cars. Pinheiro's just dropped back a little bit again. Looking this time to the outside of the cut back here from the 50 car. And is this going to work this time? Got good drive out from that corner, Johnny.
Well, the kink to the left will definitely help Zacchia out, but the problem is they're going to be turning right on 2 separate occasions next up, and so it proves, although here comes Zacchia, and it went a little bit wide, did he, in Aguilera, and even more so now. So Zacchia finding the speed on the more natural racing line. Having said that, he got out onto the curb then on the exit of 8, and all that hard work is undone.
Absolutely. He was just about to say what an absolutely brilliant move from Steve Zacchia, but he rather overcooked it there. Just the margins are tiny, aren't they? Just a few centimetres wide, and the grip was gone.
Still these 2 cars inseparable. I bet that Julien Le Mans is pleased he didn't have the headache of David Rodrigo behind him in the earlier race, who was eventually able to shake, and a significant gap developed eventually, but that was in the dry. The rain perhaps much more of a leveller, and looking to find a way by Rodrigo there into the braking area for turn 8.
This is, though, allowing Max Meyer to get away in the lead here at this stage of the race. He's 10 seconds to the good now, as Julien Le Mans soaks up this pressure. Panagiotis Kaitatsis, by the way, is being caught now by the chasing pack. So whether or not there was just one slightly less pacey lap remains to be seen. 37 minutes to go. There are the top 4 in the same shot. Bernardo Pinheiro yet to really push to challenge this pair ahead of him. Just looking further back to see where Maria Stefan is. Well, he's up in 6th place, Johnny, but he's 8 seconds back from Anthony Nara, who is 9 seconds back from the back end of Pinheiro. Certainly Steve Zacchia has not given this one up.
No.
Not by a long chalk.
Well, no, he's finding time with every lap, and now from a long way back, is he going to charge up the inside? It's a risky manoeuvre at turn 5. He will draw level with Ian Aguilera, and again they leave with more or less exactly the same pace. So we sort of know the script by this point, because Aguilera will then favour the inside line at the kink of turn 7. Zacchia up the inside at turn 8. Aguilera will go a little bit wide again. I feel like I've seen this before. And here comes Aguilera on the exit. The sideways moment from Zacchia. I'm convinced now that was a replay.
Yeah, but do it again. I think Pinheiro might decide that he might be able to be part of that battle. He's now seen the same thing done twice, 3 times. And someone's going to notice, as it does leave Zakia somewhat exposed to attack as they come through that sequence of corners. 42 and 43, still battling away for second place in JS2 R.
Rodrigo got fully alongside Julien Le Mans as they crossed the start and finish line and was ahead into turn number 1. Did he brake then too late to allow Le Mans back through? Must have done, because the blue car is back in front of the Prima Grey 43 now. To the inside line they go at turn 8. There does appear to be quite a bit of grip on the racing line, but likewise, if you want to go wide, the higher line through turn 8, that can work pretty well too.
So what's the
Ian Aguilera, did he overcook it? No, it was Steve Zakia who made the mistake, just dropping the left side Michelins onto the curbing, and there was no grip there whatsoever.
So Pinheiro through now and up into third place. Now what can he do about Ian Aguilera ahead of him? Top 4, still 4 seconds between the top 4 in this race. And we are getting, what is that, a minute and a half before we get into the pit stop window.
It'll remain open for 7 minutes as well, so you'll have a fair few options.
3 laps,
whether
basically.
You pit early or late. Yeah, so it's not actually a great deal, but most favour to get in as early as possible, because if there does happen to be a safety car, for instance, you could be trapped out of the pits and not in a position to take the pit stop within the time, so perhaps better to play the percentage game. Here's Julien Le Mans and David Rodrigo, just a car length between them. They were even closer 2 laps ago. Rodrigo this time trying the overtake around the outside. Can he keep it on the track is the next question. He's running out of road, there's no grip out there, and back comes Julien Le Mans.
Great stuff. Again, clean as a whistle, that's what you want to see, particularly in these conditions. It's struggling enough, isn't it, to find the grip without contact, and we've seen next to none of that in what's been a engaging first half of this race.
Saw Steve Zakia way in the distance there, because he is now heading between turns 13 and 14. He's dropped to 4th position. That's an example of how this track folds in and around itself. It's a relatively small footprint. The 29 Pegasus car ran wide, similar to David Rodrigo, but Laurent Millara in that case was even wider and chucking up the water. Windscreen wipers on a higher setting for David Rodrigo compared to Julien Le Mans. I suppose he's got more spray to deal with. Oh no, it's the Le Mans wiper on one side is not playing ball, and it's just getting stuck part way up the windshield, which probably isn't helping visibility.
Pit window is now open. Who's going to be the first takers here? It is going to be first down the pit lane, Anthony Nara, 5th place, followed by Minea Stefan. Well, it's simply a matter of getting the pit stop out of the way, I guess, for Stefan.
Yeah, in and out as quickly or as early as you can. It'll be a longer stop as well, because Minea Stefan's silver rating.
Also on pit lane, Giacomo Mazza to hand over to Simone Riccitelli. They finally tear away a piece of carbon fibre, jagged edge there.
And I'm assuming they don't have to refit that. I'm just a bit bothered because it has the race number on it. Then for marshal purposes and observers out on post, they need to be able to identify which car it is. If it's going wide and breaching track limits, then that has to be noted down and sent back to race control. So we'll find out whether they work out or need to have a solution for that. I was wondering whether it's a body panel that was designed to come off anyway, and a new one could just be sourced and slotted back on.
It was torn, and you could see a very jagged edge of carbon fibre, so that's taken a hit somewhere.
So they're going to have to try and tape it on if it needs to be present, and that always runs the risk of being ripped off again then, not just on the very next lap.
There is room just to slap a number on the rear wheel cover, should they have a number ready.
Yep. And ideally with a white backing so that it is easy to pick out in the gloom.
Reggie Wang also on pit lane, so 4 of the JS P4s have chosen to stop thus far. The next taker, not the first 2 cars in the order, but it is going to be Bernardo Pinheiro. And so we're going to see George King at the wheel for the final half of this race of the number 60 car. Pits that car from 3rd place.
Also in the pit lane then, Anthony Nara to switch to Dimitri Enchelbert in the 17 Pegasus racing car. Jacopo Mazza for LR Motorsport. That'll be a change to Simone Riccitelli. And Ray Yu Wang in the number 11 Monza Garage car to hand over to Chuting Xu. So the two Taiwanese drivers due to change places as well, both of a silver rating of the precious metal system. We only have bronze and silver drivers taking part in the Ligier European Series. Rodrigo won't need to get out of the car because he's due to do both stints, as is Julien Lemoine, but nevertheless those cars have to stop for a designated amount of time, and they are both of the bronze variety.
So through half distance, and it is still Panagiotis Katatsis cracking first half of this race, but being caught again now by Ian Aguilera as the minutes tick down to closing the pit window in, what is that, 2.5 minutes. So looking where they are on track, it really should be this time around for those two cars. The rain does not appear to be that bad at the back end of this circuit now.
No, true. Certain areas of it are steadily improving, and there isn't really a great deal of time to offer advice to your co-driver about that, because you're a little bit wide there for the, and even worse, it's going to be a spin for the 0-4 race leading car of Panagiotis Katatsis. Got to be careful on the rejoin as well, but thankfully nobody was coming. I'm not entirely sure how much control he had as he bounced his way down the hill there and through the turf, all of his own making, I'm afraid, because he ran a touch wide into 14. And then, yes, as he was trying to correct, he nearly ran in the back of Ian Aguilera. But that dirt on the inside of the corner offering no grip after all the rain we've had. And if he was trying to arrest the speed of the car coming down the hill, it certainly wasn't showing much evidence of it. And someone sort of tumbling back onto the road, but thankfully, as no one else was coming.
I'm sure if we had in-car radio, we'd hear some choice words in Greek. But sadly, all of that early brilliance wiped away with one small error, running too wide, overcorrecting a little on a road where there is next to no grip. And it's going to be in Aguilera that leads this race to the end of the pit stop cycle. But he has gone through. Has he got? It is 27 minutes to go when this closes, is it not?
26 minutes to go.
Right, that's my error then.
Yeah, so it used to be a 6-minute window. It is now 7 minutes from 27
so he's got
to
plenty
34.
Of time.
So he's got the...
he will pit this time around.
1 minute and 45 still to go, which is just over a lap time, but he will definitely have to come in at the end of this.
Max Meyer pits, leading the race, and with the pit stops of the JS P4s that have been ahead of him, he'll pit from 5th overall, hand the car over to Martin Rich. Martin climbs aboard. Tall man from the UK. Shared this seat, as with others, with his good friend Simon Butler, the racing reverend. I'm sure at home tending to his flock. Not a shepherd, well, a shepherd of men and women. Simon Butler has raced, I think, all bar one race meeting this year in this car, is a working vicar, as opposed to a non-working vicar. Can vicars claim the dole? I'm not sure they can. Someone will tell us, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a possibility, but I suppose the opportunities are relatively slim on the ground, because those that are in position tend to hold on to them, don't they? They've found a good parish.
Absolutely.
But yeah, good to have Martin Rich back into Ligier. He has raced these cars before, I think.
He has raced these cars.
Was it here at Portimao?
Yeah, he's raced these cars before. LMP3 we've seen him in. We've seen him in GT cars of a whole range of varieties, up to and including, as I was saying in this morning's broadcast, Le Mans 24 Hours with Lotus and the Little Evora. And, I'm sure they're all memories that he will cherish.
Yeah, he raced, in fact, with Haytham Karagiuli here at the Algarve International Circuit in 2022.
Appears to be going slowly.
Is there a complaint about radio not being communicated there, perhaps? Which car are you concerned about?
The 4. The 4 hasn't pitted.
The 0-4 is not in the pit lane and has to have been in the pit lane, and that, I wonder, was the concern from the Monza Garage guys. Meanwhile, it's side by side for the Team Virage cars, and that was Mirnea Stefan picking off Lance Fenton for position.
Yeah, so, sadly, that is the 04 car. I'm afraid it's rather ruined that run.
Yeah. Whether
or not there's no radio, whether or not there was confusion after that off.
Well, there were signals down in pit road, and I was struggling to work out. I think it must be Kaitatsis' teammate, so Georgios Kolovos, who is due to take that car over. But he's saying to his mechanic, is he not hearing the messages? And obviously they're not able to communicate to him that he needed to get in, and he's now missed the pit window by a minute. This is the end of lap 16, and the team are desperate for Kaitatsis to pit as he comes round turn 13. So he's got a couple of more corners before pit road emerges to his right-hand side. 75 car just about to emerge with Haytham Caragiuli. So who is going to lead this race? Louis Rossi aboard the number 50 car, coming through turn 15 now. The 75 car is rolling. Now, is it going to be the Ligier JS car? Where is that on pit straight? Coming now. I think that's going to take the lead here. As Caragiuli emerges stage left, through stage right goes Louis Rossi. And 04 still has not pitted, so he heads back across the line at the end of lap 60. There's a danger here that Panagiotis Kaitatsis is just going to finish the race, but that's not part of the rules. You have to have pitted in the designated pit window. We now get confirmation, that message has been there for a little while, to say that pit window is now closed. By all means, they can come in and change drivers, but it's not a legal pit stop. Lead battle here in JS2 R. It is Martin Rich trying to fend off the number 43 car in the hands of David Rodrigo. Goes, oh, and there's tons contact there. Side-by-side contact. 43 car went wide, came back on and clattered Martin Rich. That's cost him the lead. It's also going to cost him second place. So Rich takes the racing line, moves to the outside. That was no contact there from the 10 car. That was, I would suggest, an unsafe rejoin. Yeah, well, he was off the track, and Martin Rich was perfectly on it within the white line and sensibly not going anywhere near the curb. But David Rodrigo trying to carry more speed through the corner than really the circuit allows, and he can blame the wet weather, but it's like changing lanes on the motorway. You don't do it when there's someone alongside you. It's been wide again in the same place. Right into the side of Martin Rich, who controlled the moment very, very well in actual fact. But the 10 car, yes, has lost another place to Julien Lemoine. That incident under investigation, we saw just a moment ago as well. Battle between the 17 car of Dimitri Engelbert and Mirnea Stefan. That's for 5th place. So our leader at the moment is still Panagiotis Kaitatsis, but he's in major trouble now. Still has not pitted. 22.5 minutes remaining, way out of kilter. And at some point must be getting the message that there's been a major error made here. Now heads to pit lane. And as he does so, lead battle engaged between Louis Rossi. No, sorry, not Louis Rossi. That is the OLR M Sport car, and Team Virage's number 60 of George King goes through on Haytham Caragiuli for what will be second place. Louis Rossi is 7 seconds up the road here. Just looking to see what the pace is like between them, and at the moment, George King significantly quicker. 2:05 last time from George King, 2:09 from Louis Rossi, but quicker still, down in 7th place, and the fastest lap of the race to the 2:04.1. Simone Riccitelli chasing down Dimitri Engelbert. That's 5 seconds to find, as Engelbert gives up his 5th position to Mirnea Stefan. So it's all happening now. Dimitri Engelbert with a whole bag full of opposite lock through turn 4. He is sticking with Mirnea Stefan in fairness, but you get the feeling that the Romanian is going to be able to just edge away as he puts the 48 car right in the middle of the track into turn 5, the tricky hairpin, which is very much downhill on the approach. Just strikes in my mind that when radios fail, do they have a backup in the car, as in a stopwatch, which is telling Panagiotis Kaitatsis how much of the race has gone? And is it down to the driver to set that stopwatch going? Because he may not have known that the race began under the safety car, of course. He might have started his clock when the green flag was waved.
Yeah.
So he's therefore going to be significantly behind, probably thinks he's come in at the perfect time, and the team straight away had the door open and said, what are you playing at? We're now outside of the regulations, and poor old Georgios has only got 20 minutes to drive. Julien Le Mans, meanwhile, up the inside of Martin Rich. These two are having a good old tussle, in actual fact, and that will be Le Mans back into second place ahead of the Englishman.
Yeah. Martin Rich having a good old crack at this, but has ceded that position. Here comes the 0-4. But that's pretty much a disaster for them.
I'm not surprised to see the 0-4 on a list of cars that are under investigation because of the pit stops. But what happened with the 29 car? Is that the wrong time in terms of the amount of time it spent in the pit lane? There was a spin for Le Mans, which put Martin Rich back in front. Yeah. But the Pegasus car of Laurent Millara, Martin Rich almost had to stop there to work out which side of the stranded ANS car he was going to go. But there's clearly a potential issue for car 29. Here's the conversation with Kaitatsis, Panagiotis Kaitatsis, and his explanation as to why he didn't appear on pit road when everyone else expected him to. Yeah,
so misunderstanding with what are going to be dramatic effects here, because while this car is still timed as being in the lead of this race, there is going to be a penalty for that car.
And it remains to be seen whether the 29 will have to revisit the pit lane as well for Laurent Millara. Its pit stop was a 1 minute and 51 seconds for a solo bronze driver. So you can have a pit stop that short, I thought, unless it needed to be a 155. Well, no, well,
everybody else is 158.
Yes, they are. And there's a 154, but that's sort of scratched anyway, because that's the 0-4, which was pitting at the wrong time anyway. So they could almost have afforded to have done their pit stop even quicker.
Martin Rich sticking with the programme here, sticking with Julien Le Mans. And Martin, we've decided, I think, the moniker that we're going to apply to him is Rapid Veteran.
Well, you have, yes.
Well, you know.
But, I mean, you know, it's a positive and a negative together.
He's at least 30 years old now.
That counts you as a veteran?
No, I think he's at least 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not quite veteran
territory. It's a 3-second stop, and you are one right, it was 155.
Yeah.
It's 3-second stop and go penalty for car 29 for not respecting the minimum pit stop time.
So that, folks, is the extra time that it needed to serve in the stop. And actually, it's going to be, well, it's going to be a 2-minute stop and go penalty.
I was about to say it's
for car 4. I thought it said 2 seconds then, and I thought surely they're not also going to penalise the 0-4 for a pit stop that was too short, and then an additional penalty for it being outside of the window. But it's all going to be swallowed up in one, and that is a massive penalty. 2-minute stop and go for pitting outside of the window,
and
significantly.
It's a lap, that's what it is. Similarly, Riccitelli looking for where the water is. So he's looking for where the standing water is to cool the tyres by the look of things. Shades of Formula 1 of old. Oh, big drift through turn 2. 17 minutes remain. Well, for the moment, it is the 0-4 car down the hands of Georgios Kolovos. Leads 6 seconds ahead of George King. Louis Rossi, who is 1.36 seconds behind the number 60 car. This is a great opportunity here for George King to take a race win.
Very late on the brakes there, Simone Riccitelli, perilously close to Dimitri Enchelbert's number 17 car. These two are fighting over 6th and 7th. Georgios Kolovos leading on the road, but that, once he served his penalty, will change to George King being out front, and a much tighter fight, in fact, for the net race lead, because George King is only 1.9 seconds in front of Louis Rossi for Les Deux Arbres, and then Haytham Caragiuli should be elevated to a podium slot as well for the RLR M Sport crew. That's the car that was started by Ian Aguilera.
We can see the point at which these two cars take their penalties. It's a rough one, isn't it, for Georgios Kolovos. Not only has he got less time than he otherwise should have had, he's going to lose more of it, sitting on pit road serving a penalty. He did not earn.
Side by side between Dimitri Engelbert and Simone Riccitelli. Engelbert's a bit too deep into turn 14 though, and the much more conventional racing line for Riccitelli, but you can see why Engelbert is using that line. He can get the pedal down coming out of the corner quite a bit earlier than Riccitelli Jr., and they will stay in the same order. Riccitelli just guiding the car out to the curb there, exiting turn 15 and back across the line. Actually, they're about the same speed, and Riccitelli's carrying way more of it, but Engelbert within his rights to change direction once. He's now, though, going to go back to the left-hand side in an effort to defend from the LR Motorsport car. And here comes Simone to the inside of turn 2, but there's no way by there.
It's also a drive-through penalty for car 43. It is the new leader, David Rodrigo, has gone to the lead. That's for the contact with Martin Rich. So Rodrigo has caught and passed Julien Le Mans, who surely has had an incident out there somewhere, because he's 10 seconds ahead.
Yeah. Well, did Rodrigo not get ahead when Le Mans was spinning?
Well, Le Mans spun behind him.
Okay. So Rodrigo was in front.
Yes, you're right. Yes. You're right, you're right.
Le Mans spun, Rodrigo sneaked by, I thought, and this is now him making this penalty pit stop, the drive-through for the unsafe rejoin on Martin Rich.
Should see him drop probably to 3rd place, just looking indeed. Yes, 42 goes through, 10 goes through, and the 43 will pop back up into the running order shortly. Here he comes. It's lost him substantial track position, also on pit road. The number 29 car from Mirara for that 2-second stop and hold.
I'm not sure I ever fully explained that, but basically because the car was 3 seconds short in its pit stop, i.e. should have done a minute and 55, it only did a minute and 51 and change, so it has to come in for the extra seconds it did not serve first time around.
I'm not in any way convinced that we're going to see Georgios Kolovos take this penalty.
Okay. Because the photographs look great of the car passing the line with the checkered flag.
He didn't look happy when he got in the car. I can imagine he was significantly less happy to be told he's going to serve a 2-minute stop and hold.
But of course,
it's not going to make a difference for the results.
Well, the race officials do have a way then of issuing that post-race rather than a 2-minute stop and go.
It will be significantly more than that.
It will be, because they've effectively ignored the penalty in the race.
There will be a further penalty.
And I mean, how would you put a 2-minute stop and hold into the race anyway? Because it's a definite stop and go rather than adding 2 minutes to the next pit stop.
It's more than 2 minutes.
So it would have to be 2.5 maybe, and then another penalty on top of that.
Doesn't take the penalty to be black flagged. Let's assume for the moment he's not respected it thus far. I think if the one chance it might happen is if George King does get his way by here. Let's hope that there's not an incident that involves these two, because that would be pretty horrible. I get it from the Greeks' point of view, but you've just got to keep this frustration bottled up. Discipline and the rule of law here, I guess, is important.
I still want, Kolovos is going to run off the road. There's a gravel trap there, but he managed to avoid it, thankfully. Now, George King, what's he going to do? Swing around the outside of turn 12 to take the race lead. The team at Virage may well be saying, you don't need to push this, George. It doesn't have to be fully on, maximum risk, because the 0-4 car at the end of the race effectively won't be there, and it will be losing a lap. George King now to the inside line. It might yet be safer, though, to just clear it where he can. He's coming out of turn 14. He can do that now. So the 0-4 car still with good speed, but nothing compared to George King. And George will, for the first time in this race, lead a lap.
He does indeed. The number 60 car of George King goes to the lead. Where is Mene Stefan, our champion? He's still down in 5th place, you know. He is slowly catching Hatem Karagiuli, but slowly. It's a controlled start from Bernardo Pinheiro. A controlled second part of this race thus far from George King, and then the lead. He's had some poor luck this year, the young Brit. New fastest lap of the race, by the way, to Simone Riccitelli, who fancies a little bit of passing Mene Stefan in this race. So that might be the battle to watch in the closing stages here But King pulling away now from Gulavos. And by the way, had, lest we forget, pulled away from Louis Rossi, who was within 2 seconds of him when he made that move. It's 5 seconds back, so it's good pace in the prevailing conditions from the driver of the number 60 car.
And it was a tough opening stint earlier on this morning. He took the lead, but then he made a mistake at the end of the first lap. And I don't know whether that shook him a little bit, but then there were a few more errors creeping into George's stint. But this time, much more measured, much more neat and tidy. And it looks like at this stage, he'll be getting his just rewards together with teammate Bernardo Pinheiro.
I think the other thing to say about these cars, these drivers at this stage of their careers, it does very much depend on the way these cars are set up. If it's set up soft for wet conditions, massively different than if the regular hard riding, stiff setup you would have for dry conditions. If they've made that call and made it wrong,
yes,
it can make a good driver look pretty poor.
Yeah, totally agree. And the great drivers, I suppose, realise that the setup's slightly wrong and then begin to drive around that. Still, the discussions continue down at HP Racing by Monza Garage between Panagiotis Kaitatsis and his fellow mechanics of Italy.
Caragiuli now getting onto terms with Louis Rossi for what would be second place. Sadly got to ignore for the moment the 0-4 car unless we see that penalty's been rescinded, and there seems no reason why it should be.
Yeah. Well, it may well be being discussed, but unfortunately it's a black and white issue, as in you either made the pit window or you didn't, and they were a long way out of it.
It wasn't marginal, was it?
And I do think, well, I wonder whether there was some confusion as to exactly when the race started, not from the pit wall, but maybe from the driver, and if he has his own some way of measuring it, like a stopwatch or a stop clock in the car, if it was triggered at the wrong time, then he may well have thought he was bang on the money to leave it an extra lap. In fact, it took him beyond the 34 minutes and then some.
Yeah. Either way, not leading the race now. George King is to the 4, and it is this battle. We're seeing the second of the two cars in the battle for second place. So all of a sudden, Louis Rossi's just pulled out a little bit more of comfort there. Car 4 reported to the stewards for not respecting the stop and go penalty. I hate being right on all these things, genuinely. I can understand. I can understand the irritation. I can understand just how rough that must feel, but them's the rules, I'm afraid.
Sometimes you're caught breaking the law, speeding just 1 kilometre per hour over the limit, and you might say, well, come on, is there not some sort of leeway? But you knew the rule to start with, and there may well be mitigating circumstances surrounding this. It's an unusual way to start a race. There are waves up and down the pit lane despite the fairly obvious mood. But yeah, you start a race behind the safety car. That's why you need to have read the regulations to work out precisely when the race is going to start, and therefore when your pit window is. There were 3 laps we'd worked out, 3 possible laps probably within that 7-minute window, maybe a 4th. So it wasn't as if they were short of opportunities to get in. Very sideways, I noticed there for Haytham Caragiuli, an indication of quite how hard he's pushing, because Louis Rossi is less than a car length in front of him now.
He saw the opportunity, went for it, almost lost it, but has kept the opportunity into the braking zone of turn 1. Can he make the corner? Yes, he can. Can he take the place? Yes, he can. Louis Rossi gets the more optimum line through there, but Caragiuli's got the time to close the door neatly, tidily done from the young Kuwaiti.
That's why this sequence of the first 3 corners of the Algarve International Circuit, 3 different radius or different apices of the first 3 right-handers are so fascinating to me, because a good run through the first may then mean you compromise your line through the next 2 and vice versa. And it's so tough to work out who is going to come out on top as they then hit the left-hander at turn 4. Cars are often sideways coming out of turn 3 there.
Yeah, Caragiuli saw the opportunity with the traffic there, that perhaps you might see Louis Rossi just temper his pace to deal with the traffic where he wanted to, but he tempered it just a bit too much. Caragiuli right on the edge as he came through that final turn, but he gave him the slingshot he was looking for. And that first turn, actually highly impressive. Impressive under braking. Impressive with the line he took there, and impressive with the speed he managed to carry through. Just enough to shut the door where we've seen others not manage to do that earlier in this race.
6 minutes to go. We're not adding an extra lap to it, so I'm sure the teams are already back timing where the race leader is going to be when the checkered flag is about to be shown. It will wait for the race leader, of course, who is now at turn 15.
Yeah, 3 more laps, I believe, here, Johnny, for the race leader.
They're doing 2:05s, roughly, some in the 2:06s and 7s, mind you. And the 60 car not really at liberty to back off the pace, and I don't think George King will want to either. He's having too much fun out there, now getting really to grips with the conditions that hopefully aren't changing too much at all now. So he knows where he stands. He will have at least one of the JS2 Rs to overtake between now and the end of the race, though, that being David Rodrigo. And how about this action for side-by-side? Minea Stefan to the right of your shot, Simone Riccitelli to the left, and Minea Stefan leaving his braking to the last possible moment. But is he going to run out of road as well?
Yes,
Riccitelli keeping him certainly on the straight and narrow. And Minea Stefan probably won't risk braking that far wide into turn 3. However, Riccitelli's overcooked it. Well, that might be part by design, actually, by the young Italian, because there's lots of grip out there.
Well done, young man. And Minea Stefan hasn't seemed to have the ultimate pace this afternoon. Whether or not that is driving a conservative race, he looks as if he was racing to win early on. He hasn't looked like that in the middle part of this race, maybe running to the end of the season, and all of a sudden there's not a lot of grip there. Car snaking left and right. The 48 drops him down to 6th place. That will be 5th, by the way, of course, at the end of this race.
Yes, because the 04 has sadly been reported to the stewards for ignoring the stop and go penalty, so likely to certainly lose a lap, and probably more than that, might even not be registered and indeed qualified at the end of this race. We haven't seen any hints of the black flag being shown yet, but a decision, of course, hasn't been made so far about the 04 that is running 2nd on the road, but set to benefit from that, whichever decision is made. Haytham Caragiuli, first of all, for the RLRM Sport Crew, number 75. Louis Rossi, Le Dusard, the Pro-Am leader in JS P4. That's the 50 car. And Simone Riccitelli and Minea Stefan, the two that we were very much enjoying going side by side a couple of moments ago. And Riccitelli's just done the fastest first sector of anybody else this late on in the race.
It is the black flag now for car number 4. 2nd sector quickest there for Simone Riccitelli. I just want to say Martin Rich has not given this one up, by the way. He is closing slightly on the race leader in JS2R, as Haytham Caragiuli is going to have to deal with a very angry Greek here. Let's just hope he keeps his temper, and for the moment his on-track demeanour has been absolutely spotless.
Yes.
I think there'd be certainly a little less tempered behaviour from race control if he was making life difficult, but he is driving well. He's just disrespected the instruction, ignored the instruction.
And there'll be no waiting for 3 laps on this, I believe. If it's a black flag, you have to come into the pits straight away and at least have a conversation. Yeah, team manager of car 4 and driver Kolovos to the stewards in race control.
Riccitelli here.
So Riccitelli and the Louis Rossi car are nose to tail. But just to finish the point, the current driver in 04 is now being told to go to the steward, so he absolutely has to drive down pit lane now and get out of the car. However, Riccitelli from a long way back, loving these outside lines. We've got 2 more minutes of this to enjoy. It's the car with no number from the left-hand side, and he will take the place on Louis Rossi. Been setting that up, it feels, for a number of corners. Probably not done yet either, because Haytham Caragiuli is within touching distance, and this is all effectively for 2nd position now, Graham.
Absolutely right. So it's stunning stuff from Riccitelli right at the end of this race, and he didn't just go by Minea Stefan, he's pulled away from him very solidly indeed. Here comes Haytham Caragiuli up the inside of Kolovos. Can't get it done there. He needs to get it done, because here comes Riccitelli, and he's got pace, he's got grip. He seems to be pretty much able to deal with anything the conditions are thrown at him. He's got much the quicker car in the 7. 75 though, gets a good run out of the final turn, will get the run on the 0-4, gets the power down. As he got the toe here, he can put that car between him and Ricky Telly. He's got half a chance of fending this off. And there's Stefan there in the background. So 4 cars in the mix, depending on what happens here. He does manage to put the car in between them. Could that be his saviour on what is the last lap now?
So Haytham Caragiuli, and now the problem for the guys racing the 0-4 is that it could still have an impact on where they finish in terms of if some contact is made. You've got to ignore it as far as the results are concerned, but nevertheless, it's still a car out there to overtake. And Simone Riccitelli has done that successfully. Down into the braking area for turn 5. Going to try the high line now to the outside of Haytham Caragiuli. There is no way through there. In the background, Louis Rossi trying to pick his way by Kolovos in the HP car.
They've got traffic coming. This could be significant. It's the 43 car. That is the 3rd place car in JS2 R. Martin Rich, I tell you, will not catch the leader on this final lap in JS2 R. 4 seconds back, but has kept him very honest indeed. Here we go, side by side on the inside. This time for Riccitelli, he's got the place there. Can he hang on to it? Haytham Caragiuli not going to let him get away with that very easily. Still has the outside line. And still Caragiuli forces the matter. Oh, but he spins it out! Tries, and fails, I'm afraid, in the final analysis. Brave stuff from the Kuwaiti, but it caught him out. Riccitelli goes through into 2nd place.
And that is why, folks, sometimes an outside line can work for you a lot more than the inside racing line. This is the final lap for George King, so 27 laps it will be, and together with he and the man from Portimao, Bernardo Pinheiro, a win at the end of the season for the Portuguese-British combination. Car 60 gets it ahead of Simone Riccitelli because it all came to a head between he and Haytham Caragiuli in the closing stages. So LR Motorsport bag 2nd position. HP Racing by Monza Garage are 3rd on the road, but that will all change, and to promote Louis Rossi to the podium for Le Doussab in the number 50 car. Meanwhile, in JS P4, it's another victory for Julien Lemoine for the ANS Motorsport crew to back up a championship that was already theirs, and already Julien Lemoine's as the AM champion in JS2R and also the overall in that category.
Well, more or less clean as a whistle, which is odd bearing in mind we can have a driver and team manager going to see the stewards, but excellent driving by most in challenging conditions, some good racing, kept the contact to an absolute bare minimum there. Good race in JS2R with the number 10 car of Martin Rich bringing it home with Max Meyer starting that race under 4 seconds back from the champion Julien Lemoine. They'll be delighted with that. It will be the LR Motorsport car of David Rodrigo who completes the overall podium in JS2R. JSP4, great run from Bernardo Pinheiro, backed up ably by George King there to grab that lead and drive away. A fighting finish from Simone Riccitelli, who was finding the pace to get 2nd place, and it will be Louis Rossi to complete the...
So it began behind the safety car, and eventually, after a handful of laps, we were able to go racing in very trying conditions. Unfortunately, there was the odd spin, including for Jacopo Mazza and for Minea Stefan early on. But it is a win for George King and Bernardo Pinheiro, and yet another victory for Julien Lemoine from Graham Goodwin and Johnny Palmer. We'll see you next year for the Ligier European Series after title winners this weekend. Bye-bye for now.
des pneus pluie qui étaient...
Président and
ils n'ont pas tenu.
You remember? Président Okay. So Frank and Pierre only for at the end. At the end, yeah. For the
Frédéric and Frank for this.
yeah, perfect. Thank you.
And we are ready for the final prize-giving ceremony. Final prize-giving ceremony of the season here at Autódromo Internacional do Algarve for the Ligier European Series, and we start by JS P4 overall. Third position for car number 50, Steve Zacchia and Louis Rossi. Second position, car number 7, Simone Riccitelli and Jacopo Massa. And the winners of the final race of the season, car number 60, George King and Bernardo Pinheiro. Also the team manager from Team Village. And we go for the national anthem of the winning team, Poland. And now it's time for celebrations photo before the champagne. Congratulations to the winners of this final race of the season, and it's champagne time. And now we are getting ready to call the winners from category JS P4 Pro M with the car number 50, Steve Zacchia and Louis Rossi. Also the team manager from Les Deux Arbres. Winners of JS4 Pro M. We still have another podium for JS P4. winners, JS P4 AM with the car number 1, Lance Fenton and Kevin Madsen. Also the team principal from Team Virage. And now also the prize giving for the winner of JS P4 overall in the championship. And the winner is Team 48, Minea Stefan. And the overall prize will be delivered by Frédéric Lecquia, CEO Le Mans Endurance Management, and also Frank Tine, Motorsport Director of Ligier Automotive. '23 Ligier JS P4 champion, Minea Stefan. It's time to go for JS2 R. And in the overall final classification of this last race of the season, third position for number 43, David Rodrigo. Second position for number 10, Martin Rich and Maximus Meyer. And the winners with number 42 at the door with the Ligier JS2 R, Julien Le Mans. Also the team manager from ELMS Motorsport. And the national anthem for the winning team, France. And now it's time for the champagne. And we go for the winners, JS2 R Pro M with car number 10, Martin Rich and Maximus Meyer. Also the team principal from RLRM Sport, the winning team. And it's champagne time again for the last time for this team in this 2023 season. And there's still another category for prize giving before the final awards for the winning team of the season. JS2R AM, the winner, number 42 from ELMS Motorsport, Ligier Le Mans. Photo first, please. And now the champagne moment. And to finish the season the best way, we still have the prize giving for the winner of JS2R overall. And the winner is car number 42 ELMS Motorsport, Ligier Le Mans. And to deliver the prize, Frank Tinet, Motorsport Director of Ligier Automotive, and Pierre Filon, President of the Automobile Club de l'Ouest. The winner of JS2R overall 2023, Ligier Le Mans. Thank you all. See you in 2024 once again here at Autódromo Internacional do Algarve. Thank you.